Okay, so I want you to picture something. Think of a land just filled with these proud, powerful warrior kingdoms, each one a force to be reckoned with, but they're always fighting each other for the top spot. Now imagine two massive waves of invaders are about to crash down on this scene. And here's the twist. One is just after treasure, the other is after territory. Today we're diving into how this epic clash of ambitions did way more than just spark some incredible battles. It actually forged a brand new empire that would go on to shape India for centuries.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to take a look at the powerful but really divided Rajput kingdoms. Then, we'll get to know the invaders from beyond and figure out what drove them. We'll see how all these conflicts led to the rise of the Delhi Sultanate. And then, we'll wrap it all up with a quick quiz to see what you remember. All right, so let's set the stage. What did North India actually look like right before these huge invasions? Well, forget about a single unified empire. It was nothing like that. It was more like a mosaic, a patchwork of powerful, fiercely independent kingdoms, all run by these proud Rajput warrior clans who, honestly, were just as likely to fight each other as they were to fight any outside enemy. Okay, so take a look at this. This table really gives you a feel for just how crowded and, frankly, how competitive the political scene was. Now, don't worry, you don't need to memorize every single name here, but just look at a couple of the big ones, right? You've got the Chauhans in Delhi, the Pratiharas over in Kannauj. These guys were basically the regional superpowers of their day. But, and this is the crucial part, they were rivals, always locked in this struggle for who was number one. And that constant infighting, well, that's the crack in the armor that invaders are going to exploit big time.
Now, let's turn our attention to the gatekeepers. I'm talking about the Hindu Shahi dynasty out on India's northwest frontier. Their kingdom stretched across parts of modern-day Afghanistan and Punjab, and they were literally the first line of defense, the shield that stood against any invasion coming from the west. The Hindu Shahis, man, they fought so bravely, but their story is really a tragedy of resistance. Their king, Jayapala, he stood firm against the relentless raids of Mahmud of Ghazni. But that defeat in 1001, that was a crushing blow. His son Anandpal, he even tried to rally the other Rajput kings, to form a united front. But in 1008, his defeat completely shattered the dynasty. And with that, the gate to India was basically kicked wide open.
Okay, so let's move from the frontier to the absolute heartland of Rajput power in Rajasthan. We're talking about one of the most famous clans of all, the Chauhans. You might also see them called the Chahamanas. From their strongholds, they managed to expand their influence all the way to the super strategic city of Delhi.
And when you talk about the Chauhans, one name immediately comes to mind, Prithviraj Chauhan. He was a legendary warrior, famous for one of the most dramatic turnarounds in military history. In 1191, he actually defeated the invading army of Muhammad of Ghori at the First Battle of Tarain. It was a massive victory. But Ghori was relentless. He came back just 1 year later to the very same battlefield, and this time he was victorious, crushing Prithviraj's army and bringing an end to Chauhan dominance. Now, to really get the complex web of Rajput politics, you gotta understand this term, feudatory. Just think of it like a power hierarchy, okay? So you had the Tomara dynasty. They founded Delhi, they were independent for a while, but the Chauhans were stronger, and so eventually the Tomaras had to basically swear allegiance to them, ruling Delhi for them. This whole system of vassals and overlords was always shifting as different kingdoms rose and fell.
So you've got this patchwork of powerful kingdoms, but they're all divided against each other. And this disunity, it created the perfect opportunity for these new, highly organized armies that were gathering just beyond India's borders. The winds of change were definitely blowing.
And this leads us to the big question, right? Why India? What was it about the subcontinent that made it such an irresistible target, not just once, but for centuries? Well, it really boils down to 3 key things. First, India was legendarily wealthy. We're talking spices, jewels, incredibly rich farmland. A jackpot. Second, it was politically weak. Like we said, the Rajput kings were too busy fighting each other to ever form a united front. And third, a new, energetic, and expansionist force, Islam, was on the rise, creating powerful new empires that were eager to grow. The first really serious attempt came from the Arabs. Their initial invasion of the Sindh region actually failed back in 711 AD. But the very next year, a new force led by Muhammad bin Qasim succeeded, and this was a pivotal moment. It established the very first Muslim-ruled territory in India and really opened the door for everything that was about to happen next. So while that Arab conquest of Sindh was a big deal, the real game-changing invasions came a few centuries later, and they came from two Turkish warlords. Both of them would shake India to its absolute core, but for two very, very different reasons.
First up, you've got Mahmud of Ghazni. And really, this number says it all, 17. He launched 17 major raids into India in just 26 years. That's insane. This wasn't about conquest. This was a systematic campaign of pure smash and grab.
See, the key thing to get about Mahmud is that he was a raider, not an empire builder.
All right, the second major invader was Muhammad of Ghori, and his story is all about one thing: persistence. He invaded, he fought Prithviraj Chauhan, and he lost. A lot of guys would have just given up, but not Ghori. He came back the very next year and won. That right there tells you he wasn't just here for the loot. He was here to stay. This table really shows the one-two punch that completely changed North India forever. First, you have the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan at Tarain in 1192. But Ghori didn't stop there. Just 2 years later, he took down another major king, Jayachandra, at the Battle of Chandawar. You see what he was doing? He was methodically taking out the most powerful Rajput rulers, one by one.
And here we come to the absolutely crucial difference. Unlike Mahmud of Ghazni, Ghori wasn't just raiding. His victories weren't temporary hits. Nope, they were laying the foundation for an entirely new power structure in India.
This slide sums it all up perfectly. Muhammad was the raider. He took wealth back to his own empire and left chaos behind. Ghori was the conqueror. He was aiming for permanent rule. He wasn't just after treasure, he was after territory. And this is exactly how the new era began. When Ghori went back to his homeland, he left his conquered Indian territories in the hands of his most trusted general, a guy named Qutb-ud-Din Aibak. It was this one act, leaving a governor in place, that directly led to the foundation of the Delhi Sultanate, a brand new empire that would rule from Delhi for the next 300 years. All right, we have covered a lot of ground, from Rajput rivalries all the way to the rise of a new empire. So let's see what stuck. I've got a couple of quick questions for you. First question for you. Who was the best-known Chauhan ruler? You know, the one who fought those two pivotal battles at Tarain? That's right, the answer is Prithviraj Chauhan, whose full name was actually Prithviraj III. Okay, next up. After his big win at Tarain in 1192, Ghori fought another major battle in 1194 to take down King Jayachandra. What was the name of that battle? You got it. It was the Battle of Chandawar, a victory that basically cemented his control over northern India. And let's leave with a final thought. What was the real, ultimate consequence of Muhammad Ghori's invasions? See, it wasn't just about winning battles. It was about creating a durable, long-lasting political entity, the Delhi Sultanate, which would fundamentally change the course of Indian history for the next 300 years. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.